Massapequa Park, New York, a community defined by its proximity to the city and its quiet, tree-lined streets. For decades, it was home to a man who specialized in the strength of structures. Rex Heuermann was a successful architect, a man of blueprints and measurements, a man who understood how to build things that were meant to last. But in the summer of 2023, the foundation of his meticulously constructed life began to crumble. Investigators weren't just looking at the physical evidence he left behind on the desolate shores of Gilgo Beach. They were looking for something deeper, hidden within a mountain of seized digital data, buried under layers of deleted files. They found a document that would change the course of the investigation. File name HK2002-04. A Microsoft Word document, 723 pages of inventory led them here. It wasn't a building plan. It was a manual, a step-by-step guide for the unthinkable. Prosecutors call it a blueprint for murder, and Rex Heuermann thought he had deleted it forever. The road to Massapequa Park was paved with decades of frustration. Since 1996, the remains of multiple women had been discovered along Ocean Parkway. They were found wrapped in burlap, bound with rope. They were discarded, like refuse. For years, the killer remained a shadow, a ghost who knew exactly how to avoid detection. But even the most careful architect makes mistakes. The first crack in the case came from a witness who remembered a specific vehicle, a first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche. Forensic analysts tracked the registration. It led to a home on First Avenue. Surveillance teams began tailing the owner. On a busy Manhattan street, they watched as Rex Heuermann finished a meal and discarded a pizza box. It was the breakthrough they needed. In a laboratory miles away, forensic biologists extracted a minute sample of DNA from a discarded crust. The profile was compared to a male hair found on a piece of burlap used to wrap a victim years earlier. The result was a match. But DNA was only the beginning. To understand the mind of the man they had in custody, they had to go inside his hard drive. Forensic computer analysts spent months pickaxing through 350 electronic devices seized from the Heuermann residence. In the basement, among the hundreds of firearms and tools, sat a nondescript hard drive. When the deleted document HK2002-04 was finally reconstructed, the room went silent. The document was written entirely in capital letters. It was clinical, dispassionate. It was organized into sections that mirrored a professional project management plan. One section was titled Supplies, another Targets. But it was the section titled Things to Remember that chilled investigators to the bone. This wasn't just a fantasy, it was a record of experience. It was a ledger of lessons learned from previous projects. Heuermann wasn't just an architect of buildings, he was an architect of death. The supplies list in the blueprint was a shopping list for a nightmare. It included heavy-duty rope, tarps, bleach, and surgical drapes. But the details were even more specific. Heuermann noted that light rope was insufficient. It would break too easily under the stress of being tightened. He mandated the heavy kind. He instructed himself to use push pins to hang drop cloths from the ceiling rather than tape. The reason was simple. Tape is loud. Tape can fail. Push pins are silent. Push pins are secure. Under the heading Pre-Prep, he reminded himself to get sleep before the hunt and to have a story set. He understood that the most dangerous part of his hobby wasn't the act itself. It was the recovery. He even referenced specific page numbers from the book Mindhunter by FBI profiler John Douglas. He was studying the very people who were trying to catch him. He was a student of his own depravity. As the document progresses, the clinical tone becomes almost unbearable. The section titled Body Prep contains instructions on how to strip a human being of their humanity. Wash body inside and all cavities. Remove trace evidence. He wrote about the need to remove heads and hands to prevent identification. These notes may provide the link to victims whose remains were found scattered across Long Island, years apart. Perhaps most disturbing of all was his reference to playtime. To Rex Heuermann, the act of ending a life was merely the final step. The playtime, the torture, the control, the absolute power over another human being was the goal. He noted ways to maximize this window, to keep the project functional for as long as possible. He tracked the locations of every traffic camera along Ocean Parkway. He knew the blind spots of the police. He was an expert at staying in the shadows, but he forgot that in the digital age, shadows have a way of being illuminated. In early 2026, the trial of Rex Heuermann began. The defense argued that the document was a work of fiction, a dark, creative outlet for a stressed professional. But the prosecution had a different theory. They pointed to the GPS coordinates in the file, which matched the exact locations where bodies had been found. They pointed to the burlap and the rope, which matched the supplies list. The blueprint wasn't a fantasy, it was a confession. Rex Heuermann spent his life ensuring that the structures he built were sound, that every bolt was tightened, that every measurement was precise. But in the end, it was his own meticulous nature that became his undoing. He believed that by clicking delete, he was erasing his crimes. He didn't realize that in the world of forensics, nothing is ever truly gone. The silence of Gilgo Beach has been broken by the very words he tried to hide. The architect has finally designed his own cage.